Welcome to Musings and Modalities. I'm your host, Tristen Stawicki. Think of me as your pragmatic shaman bestie. Join in with other high-vibe, lovely people as I unravel ideas to help create change and growth in your life. I cover a variety of spiritual topics, sharing knowledge to meet you wherever you are in your journey. As a shaman, astrologer, and human design reader, I help you understand how to make informed decisions and incorporate different modalities using discernment in your own intuition. Today, you will gain powerful shamanic healing tools you can use to incorporate spiritual practices in non-traditional ways. Whether you're just beginning or need a knowledgeable best friend with the next phase of your journey, I'm here to help. Stay tuned. Musings and Modalities starts now. Hey everyone, and welcome to Musings and Modalities. I'm Tristen Stawicki, your pragmatic shaman bestie, and for the next 30 minutes, we'll be diving into the topic of the magic of unwinding and how to recognize when it's time to let go. As summer winds down and the winds shift to Virgo season, we have this beautiful back-to-school energy that's full of lists, routines, and being organized, right? And that really pushes out the Leo season energy of those big dramatic movie releases, of blowing bubbles on the beach, of lazy afternoon naps. It's a very different time. The details of the world sharpen as our spinning top energy decreases and our need to ground and slow into the Earth's energy increases. We have 4 seasons and 12 micro seasons, and these 12 micro seasons are really the shift of the sun from one astrological sign to another. And as each astrological sign has its own focus, its own energy signature, there's a very different flavor in the air, and there's a different type of energy in your day. Even those of us who haven't been in a traditional school setting for many, many years, like myself, we can still feel that infectious energy, that infectious change in late August and through September. We start looking over what we spent on summer vacations and analyzing budgets. It's kind of the record scratch of a party stopping and cleanup beginning. Our body recognizes the familiarity of this experience, and our outer world really starts to reflect this feeling. Now, this summer has felt harder to let go of than others. I feel kind of unprepared, honestly, to release the excitement and the permission slip that summer provides. That permission slip to be extra, to spend all day at the movies, to be fun. Time continues to speed up, and I don't feel like I've wrung every drop of enjoyment from this summer yet. I personally really want to live in this carefree state and not shift into the next season. And when I find myself in this pattern and when I find myself not wanting to shift, it's typically because I know change is coming, big change that I don't typically feel ready of or deserving, like I don't feel ready for or deserving of. And so I wanted to dig into this a little bit as we talk about letting go. And I wanted to start with an astrological weather report of sorts and talk about the upcoming eclipse season. Now, for those of you watching this live, we've all just made it through some of the most challenging astrology in 2024. And there was a bit of a break, kind of, before eclipse season starts. So to level set a little bit, the current astrology forecast, we're still in the midst of Mercury in retrograde. Just as a quick kind of recap, Mercury's pre-shadow period started July 16th, and that's that time where Mercury isn't quite retrograde, but isn't really moving. And then in a few short days, we have Mercury stationing direct on August 28th, and that happens at 5:14 p.m. Eastern, 2:14 Pacific time. And then after it stations direct, we're in a 2-week kind of post-shadow period until September 11th at 7:52 p.m. Eastern, 4:52 p.m. Pacific. So post-shadow is when Mercury is direct. There might be kind of an ease of energy where things start to pick up, they start to inch forward, but it's really before kind of Mercury picks up speed again for us. So after that time, after September 11th, we have this point where Mercury's shadow period concludes, and we are free of this Mercury retrograde experience until November 7th of this year, right? And then we start the next one. And the experience of Mercury in retrograde is really taxing both physically and emotionally and mentally. I find I'm physically more tired and I need to rest more often. The energy to complete tasks I've done a million times before takes more effort than normal. I'm not sure if you can relate, but getting out of bed in the morning feels more like a Herculean effort. And you really want to avoid the challenges of the day as much as possible. Just takes a lot more energy. Words are often easily misconstrued during this time. Web pages can take forever to load or quit on you unexpectedly. Opportunities to close a chapter or two for the last time, and former friendships and relationships present themselves. So it's a very different energy and time we find ourselves in. It's a time of reflection, of redoing, and renewing your commitment to yourself and your goals. A main theme during this time is also release, right? Which is why I wanted to spend some time on the current experience we're in for this episode. And just 6 days after Mercury's post shadow, we have a full moon eclipse in Pisces. And eclipses are opportunities to get back on track and be divinely redirected for your best and highest good. And of course, we have free will and are responsible for our choices in this lifetime. However, if you've opted in through manifesting, through working towards specific goals, towards asking your guides for help, if you've opted into your highest experience, this choice can come with course corrections, especially during eclipse season. So September 17th, we have a full moon in Pisces. It's in the evening, so it's at 10:34 p.m. Eastern, 7:34 p.m. Pacific. And then October 2nd, we have a new moon in Libra at 2:49 p.m. Eastern, 11:49 a.m. Pacific. And the reason why I'm calling out the sign the moon is that the astrology of this experience allows us to acknowledge and prepare for where our life may be affected. The effects of these eclipses can be felt for more than a full month. So it's 1 week before the first eclipse, then 2 weeks between eclipses, and then 1 week after the second eclipse, right? So it's a really long period of time. So for us, we move right from the energy of Mercury being retrograde to the post-shadow effects to experiencing this eclipse season. An eclipse season is really supportive as it removes any fog or illusion energy in your life and shines a big old spotlight on things that need your attention. This could be situations you've been ignoring. This could be some messiness in your life and relationships, or it could be where you've taken the course of inaction, right? And now you're finally being forced to make a choice, or you're being forced into action in some way. And this comes from new information being provided, maybe clarity where things were fuzzy in the past. Things are not allowed to fester under this energy. And even though time has felt fast, especially this summer, especially this year, in this portal, in this season, events and time will continue to speed up. There's this huge rush of energy to really get you over those hurdles holding you back from growth. And I want to be clear, there is work in Mercury retrograde and there is work in eclipse season, but the reward, the bounty, is so, so worth it. This is a time where growth and effort is supported and rewarded in unbelievable and magical ways. So how does this energy specifically support us? With the full moon in Pisces, there's a natural tension between Pisces and Virgo, where Pisces is that Neptunian illusion energy, and Virgo is very much in the details, in the spreadsheet, and staying on budget. They are sister signs, and they go about the same goal in opposing ways. So having the sun in Virgo and this Pisces full moon, we get to really dream big and plan the next steps for how to get there. It's adding in pragmatism to our big, scary dreams so that we can bring them to reality. Our dreams won't just stay dreams with this energy. And so as we count down to this eclipse, this full moon, let's spend the next few weeks taking deliberate steps to achieving our wildest fantasies. Our outer world is a reflection of our inner world, and this energy supports us releasing what is holding us back, tightening up where we're allowing our energy and resources to be siphoned, and organizing our thoughts to take the best next step forward. With the new moon in Libra, justice, balance, and fairness are all top of mind. This is really a time to reflect on where you're looking for justice in your own life. Where can you provide fairness to others' lives? How can you balance the scales in your favor or your community's favor? This is not a time to be complicit, but to stand firm in your values and in your integrity. Show your grit and know your worth. There's magic in making it through the other side of a portal. There's deep relief and a sense of accomplishment after making it through a stormy chain of events. That's the feeling we need to keep as our North Star to make it through the next few weeks. The vision you have for your life needs to be so strong and palpable that everything not supporting that reality falls away. When I've previously done astro weather reports, I typically add them in at the end of an episode, but it feels really important today to reflect on where we are collectively before we discuss the magic of letting go. We are in a major period of loss, of change, that will stay in through the next 6 weeks. And even though this change is ultimately supportive, we can feel as though we're in a boxing match and getting beat up a little bit. So often, when the spiritual community discusses all these buzzwords, right, like manifestation, raising your vibration, making your dreams a reality, they glaze over what is lost in the process. There's a loss of friendships, relationships with family, a loss of identity. There's the adage of what are you willing to give up to make your dreams come true? And at times, it feels like the answer is everything. Saying everything and choosing everything is the most kind of direct path, the only answer one can give. In my own quest for enlightenment, I've found and given up more than you can imagine, and I'll continue to. There's no element of my life and business that's left unscrutinized or carefully reviewed. And there are a lot of big emotions that can happen with change, with loss, like grief, right? And then the 5 stages of grief, you move through the kind of stages of denial and anger and bargaining and depression and acceptance. And as I cover kind of the stages of recognizing change, there's a lot of overlap, especially subconsciously, between these two experiences. So to help recognize that change is coming, I've put together a few ways to acknowledge the changing tide. The first of which is to notice the shift, which I also call you feel different, right? There's a change in your thoughts or a new way of thinking and noticing that's coming through. Oftentimes, this feeling begins with the thought of what if, and an idea or hope comes up. What if I move to a new place? What if I change jobs? What if, what if? And that idea can be followed immediately by your ego speaking up with realities. Like, moving is such a chore. How do you find a new place that you can afford? What if the new job means even less times for the things you love? Do you really want to start over at a new company? And for the second stage, there's really an invitation to change, right? So this comes through as an opportunity to meet new connections. Perhaps a friend is looking for a new place to live and invites you along. You'll see these opportunities that kind of start opening up the door a little bit to say, okay, you've thought the what if. Here's some things that are kind of opening up and showing you that that what if could become a reality. And then for stage 3, discomfort begins, right? Change is really, really hard when you're content. And often what happens after you start having thoughts of changing something in your life, you notice all the ways you are unhappy or discontent in that place. You start to feel the edges of where you are, and maybe that means you start to see the layout of your current home doesn't work with what you need, or you really begin noticing the wear and tear of the house that you're in and all the ways this place isn't serving you. Or if you're working in your career, maybe you're finding your manager isn't supporting you as you need to, or the goals you set for yourself when you started this job aren't where you find yourself and you don't see a path forward. And then for step 4, change outside of your control happens. So your roommates are thinking of moving out. The rent will be raised with this new lease agreement. Or if you own your own home, things start breaking down one after another, further validating this place is no longer for you. Ultimately, life gets hard, and it gets challenging enough that the stress of finding a new place, of moving, of finding a new job, of whatever the scenario is, The change is worth it to stop this never-ending cycle of issues that you have to battle to stay where you are. And this really doubles down in step 5, right? Where ultimately life gets really hard. There's this opposition to seemingly everything that is happening except in a new direction. The only bright light is escaping or changing the circumstances you find yourself in. And step 4 and step 5 are really, really challenging, right? So I do want to acknowledge that. But ultimately, it's needed to provide that pressure for change to occur. And for step 6, a choice is made, and you find it's time to really dig in or let go. And there's a profound magic in the gift of choice. Choice allows us to shift from subconsciously making a decision to consciously choosing a path, to choosing a direction. And with that choice, we are in step 7, which is giving yourself time to grieve. With each decision, which with each path, a potential way forward dims, right? There's what feels like a loss of a potential timeline, a potential experience that we want to acknowledge and not just kind of glaze over at all. And as you move into the final step, step 8, I really ask you to reflect on the theme of the change that's happening. If you're dealing with change in your outer world, like moving or changing jobs, reflect on your inner world where you're finding your growth edges in other spaces. When I'm outgrowing something externally, there are plenty of opportunities to see what else I'm outgrowing in other facets of my life. So, how do we gracefully accept change, right? When every fiber of your being wants to rebel against it or wants to kind of put your head in the sand. Embracing the choice that was made and giving yourself time to move through big emotions are vital to working through shifts in your life. And there's 3 ways we can do that. The first way is having faith that the outcome will leave you better than you were. And this might not be immediately, right? There could be additional trials to get through, but ultimately, any loss or sacrifice along the way will be worth it. You have to hold on to the visualization and vibration of a more fulfilled life where this change and this choice allows for that shift. Second is to hold firm in your values and in your integrity. It's really, really easy to act out and do things out of character when you feel out of control. Escapist tendencies and turning to things like food or alcohol, television, entertainment, anything and everything to provide comfort or a false sense of security. And this is such an easy trap to fall into. And if you feel overwhelmed or unable to do anything but escape your reality for a little bit, then I recommend time boxing it. Give yourself a day or two to wallow, to do nothing but be in bed, whatever it is you need to do to work through this, and then reaffirm who you are and how you want to show up in the world. Third is to have gratitude for what you are leaving behind, for what is showing up for you, and for what is changing in your life. Being ungrateful is one of the fastest ways to block your blessings, and it shows a lack of emotional maturity when the universe is offering you the opportunity to level up and to take what you said you wanted. Ultimately, belief in the universe, belief in yourself, and holding true to your values, you also want to be grateful and to show up. And this is how you gracefully accept and move through change in your life. So we've talked about how you can kind of acknowledge change is coming, work through the steps of change. We've talked about gracefully accepting it. Now I want to move into manifestation. Why is letting go so important in the manifestation process? And one of the key elements of manifesting is releasing attachment to outcome. This can be letting go of things happening according to your plan, or even letting go of what you wished for and thought you wanted when something even more aligned shows up. I know that many of us have had the experience where we kind of held this dream and held this vision of our dream life, our dream job, our dream home, and we get that thing. And then after a while, and it could be years, it could be, 6 months, depending on where we are in our growth cycle, you go, wow, I have this dream. I'm so grateful for it that I've achieved it. And now I have an even bigger dream of where I want to go. And you start to feel that discomfort. And I want to acknowledge that this is kind of key to that manifestation process. Because in order to be a co creator with the universe, we need to have room for transformation and we need to have room for growth. And it's not fair that we hold this vision of just what one dream reality could look like. And then we hit it, and then how boring life would be if that was it, right? We'll have these constant up levels, these constant changing of what our dream reality, our dream life looks like. And that's so beautiful. That's kind of part of the joy of being human. And it can take a lot when you have to kind of unwind and break down your dream life because ultimately creation can't happen without some level of destruction. Look around the room you're in, look at the books on the bookshelf. There's a destruction that formed every single item in our homes, the silverware in our kitchens, the very homes we live in. What are you willing to destroy to create the life you want? And one of the hardest things to let go of is pieces of our identity. I've talked a lot about tangible items, right? But when you're able to shift your identity, I find it's one of the fastest ways to quantum leap and change the vibration and frequency of your whole life. Raising your vibration is just another way to say you're releasing the parts of yourself that no longer are a fit for the reality that you are welcoming in. And to bring in the energy of manifestation, it's not enough to let go and embrace change. You need to move into a state of embracing change, almost like it's a spiritual guide, right? Because ultimately, that's the role that change plays in your life. As this episode comes to a close, I encourage you to reflect on what is unwinding in your life. Where do you feel something has come to completion for you? And where have you learned what you needed to from it? What is something that you can give less energy to make space for something else? For the past 2 years, dance has taken up an enormous amount of energy in my life, where I was at the studio 4 days a week with classes until nearly 10 p.m. at night. And this summer, I made the choice to take no classes at all, right? And to make room for travel and spontaneous plans with friends. And this fall, I've completely changed my schedule to only go 1 day a week to the studio. And this has allowed me to make a conscious choice to make more room in my daily life for my business to expand and to grow. And that doesn't take away what dance does for me, right? I'm so grateful for what dance has given me. It's given me a sense of community, of finding joy in moving my body, of performing on stage. And it's also time to rebalance and put my energy into other parts of my life. And there's really beauty in that, and I'm so grateful for that experience. And there will be other things, 6 months from now that I'll need to rebalance and let go of and, change. And it could be that I come back to dance, a few years from now and want to ramp it up again. And that's okay too. So I just really want to acknowledge kind of the ebb and flow of things in your life and the places they have for this episode. And I really hope that this has helped you kind of recognize the early signs of change and help as you move into graceful acceptance and embracing change overall. Thank you so much for watching Musings and Modalities with me, your pragmatic shaman bestie. You can tune in the second and fourth Mondays of each month at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern for more fabulous episodes. If you'd like to learn more about magic, manifesting, and healing techniques, then you can book a 60-minute shamanic healing session at musingsandmodalities.com. If you haven't worked with me before, I'm offering a free 30-minute call on Zoom with me for chakra clearing and balancing. And this is where I'll use Reiki to remove energetic blockages, align your energy, and replenish you where you feel a bit depleted. I find that chakra clearing and balancing is one of the most effective ways that you can get your energy back into alignment and kind of jumpstart the energy in your life to get to that next level, to get to that higher vibration. I also wanted to let you know my birth chart readings are filling up for September, so I recommend booking soon. For those of you that have had astrology readings and want something adjacent but different, I also offer human design readings, which uses your birth time, date, location, and provides insight into how you work best. It also helps and is super impactful as you're planning kind of your day, right? What times of day do you best make decisions? What are the environments you thrive in? What are the elements that help your digestion? Like there's all sorts of really, really cool insights that help you feel and be the best version of yourself. In an upcoming episode, I'll actually dive more into human design because I've realized I haven't really done a deep dive on this format yet. And I'm really excited for that. So tune in for that one. I so appreciate you listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. You've been listening to Musings and Modalities with me, Tristen, your pragmatic shaman bestie. For more powerful healing tools, join me every second and fourth Monday at 8 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. I cover a variety of topics to meet you wherever you are at on your spiritual journey. Learn techniques to work with pendulums, past life healing, astrology, and more. Please share the show and subscribe for more guidance from your pragmatic shaman bestie at musingsandmodalities.com.